Hello, I'm Kaiser and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author, and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today, I will be reviewing Flash Fire by T.J. Klune. This is the second book in the Extraordinaries series. It is a superhero fantasy. The description says, through bravery, charm, and an alarming amount of enthusiasm, Nick landed himself the superhero boyfriend of his dreams. Now, instead of just writing stories about him, Nick actually gets to kiss him. On the mouth. A lot. But having a superhero boyfriend isn't everything Nick thought it would be. He's still struggling to make peace with his own lack of extraordinary powers. When new extraordinaries begin arriving in Nova City, siblings who can manipulate smoke and ice, a mysterious hero who can move objects with their mind, and a drag queen superhero with the best name and the most sequined costume anyone has ever had, it's up to Nick and his friends Seth, Gippy, and Jazz to determine who is virtuous and who is villainous. And new extraordinaries aren't the only things coming to light. Long-held secrets and neglected truths are surfacing that challenge everything Nick knows about justice, family, and being extraordinary, which is a lot to handle when Nick really just wants to finish his self-insert bakery AU fic. Will it all come together in the end, or will it all go down in flames? 3 stars. This book was more or less the same as the first. It was fine. I'm still not wild about the audiobook narrator. I still find Nick to be more than a little over the top, but it's interesting enough. I'm still going to read the last book. I still don't like the way Klune treats fanfiction in this series. Since Nick has stopped being obsessed with Shadowstar after he turned out to be evil and tried to kill him, he obviously had to stop the fic he was working on. Now he's writing something significantly more stupid. It says self-insert bakery AU in the description, but his self-insert actually runs a bakery/private detective agency. I'm not about to say that a baker who solves crimes is a ridiculous idea. My parents watch Hallmark, and it's more or less the premise for one of their series. I will say that it sounds ridiculous, though, and it definitely defeats the purpose of a bakery AU. At any rate, I think it's both dumb and insulting, so I wish Klune would stop. The second thing that I didn't care for in this book was the heavy-handed way Klune attempted to address the police problem. I haven't looked it up, but I'd be willing to bet that between the first and second book, America experienced its massive push against the police. Since Nick's dad is a cop, it creates a bit of an issue. Since Nick's dad is a cop who canonically abused a suspect and was demoted but not fired, it creates kind of a big issue. It's possible I'm wrong. Klune may have intended to address the problems with the police from the beginning, including Mr. Bell's backstory as a launching point. It just didn't feel particularly organic in the way it was brought up and discussed. I also really hated the twists in this book. The way the book was structured, it felt like there were 3, but 2 of them were already revealed at the end of the first book. Assuming that you listened to or read the last chapter in The Extraordinaries, you already know that Nick has powers and that his dad is getting drugs from the bad guy to suppress them. I was trying to think of what exactly my issue is with twists that aren't surprising. Obviously, for Nick, both things are huge reveals, so how would I expect Klune to have him learn them without making it feel like the reader is also supposed to be surprised? I don't have a perfect answer for that, but I'm pretty sure the issue is with tension. There are various ways that a story can build tension, and various reasons and points where it's necessary. I think my problem with non-reveal twists comes from the story building a lot of tension that culminates in a reveal that the reader already knows. When books don't build tension leading to these sorts of reveals, it doesn't make me feel like I was supposed to be surprised, and it doesn't bother me. But when they do build that tension, it makes me feel irritated for reasons I don't entirely understand. That's my theory, anyway. Who knows? At any rate, it felt like there was a lot of build-up to Nick learning his mother was Guardian and that he has powers, as well as him discovering that his father is working with Burke to suppress those powers without telling him, and I didn't like it. The third big reveal was pretty easy to guess, but it's a spoiler. On that note, I think I've reached the end of what I can talk about without spoilers, so if you don't like spoilers, now is the time to pause or close the video. For everyone else, let's talk details. So the third reveal is that Nick's mom isn't dead. She's taken on a new hero identity and kept out of the news all this time, but her new persona is introduced midway through this book as a mysterious hero dubbed TK because they are telekinetic, but have not introduced themselves. I honestly wasn't thinking that much about it, but my brother immediately assumed TK was Nick's mom, and once he said it, I was equally sure he was right. The problem with that is that Nick's mom has, until now, been treated as this perfect person. Because she is his mom and he thinks she's dead, Nick always talks about her as if she could do no wrong. But the first time we meet TK, she's a complete asshole. Nick gets excited and starts rambling, and she turns to Pyrostorm and asks if he's always like this. I also think Nick is annoying and a little too much, but I'm not secretly his mother who has basically abandoned him for 5 years. TK also refuses to help when he asks her to teach him, given that he only just learned about his powers and doesn't know how to control them. I might give her a pass if I thought the reason she refused was to ensure he didn't realize who she was, but she straight up tells his dad at the very end of the book. I just don't like her, and I'm very worried that the next book will expect me to be much more understanding than is warranted. I'm guessing the explanation will be that someone was targeting her, so she faked her death in order to protect both herself and her family while she figured shit out. But I've never been a fan of that kind of justification for the fake death plot, and I'm not about to change my mind for a woman who could have been nicer to her son when he needed her and didn't know who she was anyway. The fact that Burke is going to become mayor in the next book also irritates me. Like, I live in the world. I know that people will vote for the worst people in the world, even if they admit to committing crimes, and Burke hasn't even gotten that obvious. But I still hate it. It just drives me crazy that so many strong indicators that he's a bad guy can pile up, and the people he isn't actively antagonizing will still think he's a great guy. I don't care if it's realistic. Reality sucks. I mean, the man's son turned out to be a supervillain, but he just didn't know? He was accused of manufacturing drugs that give people superpowers and testing them on his son. Then, in this book, he introduces 2 new Extraordinaries and says that he wants to send them into schools to do outreach shortly before they violently attack a school full of children. And yet, somehow, people still think he's just a victim of bad luck? I also really want Owen to be redeemed, and I kind of doubt that's going to happen. I mean, it remains to be seen. He's not in this book at all, aside from escaping in the middle of everything going to shit and disappearing into the night. I know he's a bad guy and he did bad things, but he's also just a kid with terrible role models and, I'm fairly certain, some serious self-esteem issues. Here's hoping I'm pleasantly surprised. That's all I have to say about Flashfire. If you like this video, I hope you watch more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!